Welcome to Middle Tennessee State University. This is the Meet Your Major presentation for the Department of Health and Human Performance. The Department of Health and Human Performance is within the College of Behavioral and Health Sciences. Other departments in the college include criminal justice, human sciences, nursing, psychology, and social work. We have several majors within the Department of Health and Human Performance. These are athletic training, community and public health, exercise science, leisure and sport management, physical education, and within that major, students can either choose the teaching concentration or sport pedagogy, which is the non-teaching, speech language pathology and audiology, and tourism and hospitality management. If you do not see your major listed here, please make sure to contact your academic advisor. We want to make sure to get you to the correct presentation, so that way you find information directly related to your major. Who is my advisor? So in our college, advisors are assigned based on the student's major and last name. You can find your advisor on Pipeline. There's a link there that will take you to your advisor's contact information, as well as your faculty advisor's contact information. Or you can go to our website, mtsu.edu/cbhsadv. There's a link there that says who's my advisor. When you click on that link, you can find more detailed contact information for your academic advisor and figure out who exactly is your assigned advisor. Within our department, we have 4 advisors. My name is Sarah Fawcett, and I advise for students with the last names A through D. Crystal Ellis advises students with the last names E through J. Casey Matterson advises students with the last names K through R. Judy Monroe advises students with the last names S through Z. Students are always welcome to schedule an appointment with your advisor, whether you have specific questions or just need help scheduling classes for the upcoming semester. We encourage you to schedule an appointment. You can do so at our website listed here. When you get to that website, there's a link on the right-hand side that says schedule advising appointment. So I have that circled for you here. It's what that looks like. Once you click on that link, you'll be asked a few questions just to direct you to the correct person. You can also schedule appointments with minor advisors through this website, as well as the Career Development Center. Feel free to email your advisor as well. We're happy to answer questions through email, but sometimes we might suggest you set up an appointment if we feel like it might need more time or discussion to figure out. So on our college webpage, we also have a link for some helpful customs information. A lot of this information you can actually find in your advising folder. But in case you misplaced that, or you just want to look at it somewhere else, you can find some customs information on this website. There's also some videos about how to schedule classes and some helpful links to some resources outside of our specific college. So this is what our customs advising folder looks like, and you should have received. Inside the folder are those helpful documents that I just mentioned, but we also would like you to save any other documents that you have throughout your time at MTSU that are related to advising or your classes. This might be your academic map, your upper division form, an academic plan that you create with your advisor or on your own, questions that you have, or registration checklists. We encourage you to keep track of all that stuff in this folder, so that way you have record of everything and you kind of have everything organized. You should check your MTSU email for an email you should have received recently from your academic advisor. You'll have a copy of your upper division form, as well as your registration checklist that you need for the fall semester. Please make sure you have access to that, as that's how you're going to know what to register for tomorrow. So I mentioned the upper division form as one of your advising resources, and this is what that looks like. This form is specifically for exercise science majors. The difference with other majors will be these classes over here. These are exercise science courses. So if you're in a different major, this is the part where it would be maybe athletic training classes or leisure and sport management. And then below that, if your major is required to have electives, or if you're required to have a certain minor, that is where this will go under here. This form is great for keeping track of the classes you've completed and grades that you've earned. You can fill that out as you go, and your advisor can assist with that. Your advisor may also use this to help guide you through choosing classes and marking off what you have done. So we encourage you to keep track of this and to keep it updated. You should also reference this whenever you're registering for classes. If your advisor suggests that you take a humanities and fine arts course, you can find your options here. If you choose a course that you think might apply, but is not listed here, then it's probably not going to count for your general education requirement. So we probably don't want you to take that course. We want to make sure that you're in classes that'll count towards your degree. So please use this form just to double check that the classes that you're taking do count. So I mentioned general education on the previous slide, and so we can go over a little bit of what those classes are here. There's 41 hours of general education courses that are required for students at MTSU. The communication section is the first one listed here. There's 9 required hours from this section. Classes are 3 credits each, and so that means there's 3 classes required. In this communication section, there's 2 English courses and a comm class, which is like a communication course. The next section here is history. From the history section, there are 5 available options for students to choose from. You have 2 that are required, so 6 hours, 2 classes are required. Some students might be required to take specific history courses, whereas some might be able to choose between the 5. This is something that your advisor can help you clarify a little more if you're not sure what you can choose, and may also be listed on your registration checklist. The next section is humanities and fine arts. There's 9 hours required here, which is 3 classes. One of the classes is going to be a literature course, and the other 2 you can choose from on your upper division form. For the math section, you'll notice that just says 3 hours, so there's 1 required math for general education. The specific math that we might suggest you take might vary depending on what major you're in, what your career goals are, maybe a certain minor that you have. So it's important to work with your advisor to make sure you're taking the math that'll help you the best in your major and career goals. Natural science is sort of the same thing. You have 2 natural science courses that are required, but you'll notice with this, it is 8 hours instead of 6 or 9 or 3. That's because our natural science courses have a lecture and a lab component. So each class is 4 hours each, and so 2 classes together would be 8 hours. As I mentioned kind of with math, with the natural science courses, what we suggest might vary based on what your major requires, what your career goals are, maybe if you have a minor, or what your interests are. So it's important to work with your advisor and go by some of the suggestions on your registration checklist to see what natural science courses would best fit you. The last section here, social behavioral science, it's listed as 6 hours, so that's 2 3-credit courses. We might suggest some specific classes, again, based on your major or your specific interests. Otherwise, you can use your upper division form to choose what classes look most interesting to you. So many students come into MTSU already having earned some college credit. That's what we'll talk about here on this slide. If we have credit on record for you, we'll have noted that on your upper division form already. So if you look at that, you might have a grade next to English if you've done dual enrollment English, or math if you have AP math credit. We've noted all of this on that form. If you believe that you have earned one of these forms of credit, but it's not listed on there, make sure to let your advisor know. It might just be that we haven't received it yet, or maybe you need to request it, so we can help you figure out what your next step is with that. It's also important to let us know today because we based your fall recommendations off the credit we already have. So we don't want you registering for a course that you may have already earned credit for. So some of these forms of early college credit include AP credit, IB credit, dual enrollment, Cambridge, Dante's, ACT credit for English. So if you scored really high on your ACT for English, you might have received credit for that. And then the statewide dual credit challenges. So the next type of courses that we'll go over are prescribed courses. Some students are required to take prescribed courses in their first and maybe second semester when starting at MTSU. This requirement is determined based on students' ACT scores. So if you are required to take a prescribed course, we will have noted that on your registration checklist. It's signified by a K. So if it says English 1010K on your registration checklist, you're required to register for one of the K sections of the English course. These classes do work towards graduation hours and usually meet a general education requirement. So as I mentioned, with English, whether you sign up for English 1010 in section 1 or English 1010 in section K1, both of these courses count towards your general education requirements. As you can see on this chart right here, this is kind of a listing of all the different K courses and combinations that students might take. And below that are the courses that students, the gen ed courses that students are allowed to take if enrolled in these prescribed courses. So if you're enrolled in a K section, this might affect other courses you can take during that semester. So for example, if you look at the math section of courses, if you're enrolled in a math K course, there's only certain natural science courses you can take at that same time. So if there's a specific science you want to take, but you're not able to take it with your K math class, you just might have to wait a couple of semesters to take that class. If you have any concerns about how this might affect your plan, you're welcome to talk with your advisor about that. The last thing we have on here is sales math. If you've come to MTSU having completed sales math, this will allow you to take some non-K sections of some math courses, but there's some levels of math, such as college algebra, that you will still be required to take a K section for. So when you go to look up classes, you'll notice that there's some sections that have a letter before them. These are just other special types of classes that are available to students. So honors sections are signified by a letter H preceding the section number. So if you qualify for honors, you're able to register for one of those sections. If you're not sure, you can let us know and we can help you double check or figure out if you're eligible to take honors classes. Writer Learning Community courses, these are courses that are paired together, two separate courses. So maybe one of the most common ones that we have for students in that first semester is the Reading 1000 and History pairing. This is a prescribed Writer Learning Community that sometimes students need to take. But there's also Writer Learning Communities that might be other gen eds that you can look for. So these are signified by the letter L preceding the section number. Our distance learning classes, those are our online courses. So if you see a course where the section starts with a D, so D01, you'll know that course is an online class. And I will show you those when we look at pipeline. And then the final one is Scholars Academy, or STAR, which is the Student Transition Academic Readiness Program. If you were interested in this program, or you're already planning on going into it, you want to work with your advisor to find these classes, because sometimes they don't jump out as easily. So DegreeWorks is a system on Pipeline that is a really great resource for students to make sure they're in classes that are required for your degree. With DegreeWorks, it pulls in all of your information. So it starts with your major, and then it'll pull in classes that you've taken, transfer courses, classes you're enrolled in, and classes you're registered for the upcoming semester. And it will show you how those classes count towards your degree. You can see that example down here with this English course. How that specific class is pulling in and shows in progress for the English section. So this is one way to keep track of your progress towards your degree and maybe classes that you have remaining to take towards your major or general education. You can also use this to make sure classes that you're in are actually required for your degree. If you're noticing that the courses are not pulling into any specific area, you probably want to, well, you do want to speak with your advisor about that, because you might need to look into a different course or double check that the class that you're in is the correct one. But you always want to make sure the classes that you're in are counting towards your degree. So DegreeWorks is a great way to do that. So these are some other advising resources that are going to be very important to use in registration tomorrow. So this is the registration checklist that I keep referring to, and we're going to talk in a second about how to fill that out and use that tomorrow to register. And this is the homework we want you to do tonight. So when we say homework, we just mean that we want you to start looking up classes and get an idea of what you want to register for the fall. So the first thing you need to do is check your MTSU email or an email from your advisor with two attachments. One is that upper division form that we already reviewed, and the other one is this freshman registration checklist. Make sure to review your upper division form to see if all of your earned college credit is reflected on there. That AP credit, dual enrollment, those types of courses. If you see something missing, please let us know right away. Like I had said earlier, we don't want you to register for something that you might already have credit for, so we want to account for that on our recommendation sheet. And so then after that, you just want to use this registration checklist and look up the recommended courses on it to see what your ideal schedule would be. So we'll jump over to this form really quick. So this is your registration checklist. So this isn't just a generic, well, this is, but what you have in your email is not a generic list of classes that your advisor gave you as an example. These are specific classes that we would suggest you register for the fall semester. So we went based on your major, maybe if you've mentioned specific career goals, if you have K course requirements, if you have any dual enrollment or AP credit that came in, we came up with these list of courses based on all of those things. There's some areas where we might say choose a class from a certain section, such as humanities. And so that's when you want to use your upper division form to see all of your options. So when you're looking at this, please know that we strongly advise and want you to register for the classes that we listed there for you. We recommend that you go by your list and not by somebody else's suggestions, just because theirs might be a little different based on their situation. So when you go into Pipeline, you can find sections of each class that work best for you. Make note of those, write down the days and the times, and most specifically the CRN right here. So that way you have a plan for registration tomorrow. So tomorrow, you're going to join your advisors and other students in your customs group on Zoom at 9 a.m. Central Time for some additional advising and course registration. So this is when you'll actually go into Pipeline and register for your classes. If you run into any problems or have any questions or have any concerns, all of the advisors will be in that meeting, and we are more than happy to answer any questions that you have, help you figure some things out, maybe give different recommendations of courses based on maybe what you find is open, anything like that. So this is a really valuable time to get some assistance with registration. If you're not comfortable, since I had mentioned that our whole customs group will be in that Zoom meeting, if you're not comfortable asking a question in front of everybody, you can always private message your advisor and we can answer the question through an individual chat. You can also email us after the meeting if you think of further questions, schedule a follow-up appointment, whatever you need to make sure that you're on the right track. The Zoom access information is in that email I referred to, where your registration checklist and your upper division form is, to make sure you can access Zoom and that you can find that information. You will not be able to register for classes unless you participate in this session. So it is really important that you come to the Zoom session at 9 a.m. If you have an unavoidable travel conflict tomorrow morning, please make sure to notify your advisor as soon as possible. So just some helpful tips with this. Those couple videos that I mentioned earlier on the CBHS Customs webpage might help you to figure out how to look up classes if you forget, so you can always look up that. As I mentioned, make sure to look up the recommended courses on your checklist. These are classes we suggest specifically for you, so we do ask that you kind of use those. And then if your registration checklist states you need a reading and history RLC, please use the RLC document in your folder to select a reading and history pairing. So this is what it will look like if you're required to have a reading and history. The two classes will be paired and the sections will go together. So to find classes and register, you want to look them up in Pipeline and build your class schedule, so that way tomorrow morning you're ready to go when registration opens for you. This is what your advising checklist will look like once you start filling everything out. You'll go look up Math 1010. Maybe if you need a case section, you'll scroll down to that and find a section that works for you and that you want to enroll in. It's important that you keep note of when your classes are. Pipeline won't allow you to register for overlapping classes, but we don't want you to plan a whole schedule of classes and then realize something overlaps. So make sure to write down all that information. And then tomorrow morning, once you have your classes ready to go, you'll just log into Pipeline, click on registration and student records, click on add or drop classes and enter your term, and then you'll enter the CRNs into these open boxes. Now I know it can be a little hard to imagine this without having been on Pipeline before. So what we can do now is look at Pipeline and you can get a clearer picture of what this looks like. My Pipeline account looks different than yours will because I'm an advisor and not a current student. So my screens don't look the same. But when you click on look up classes, it's all pretty much there. So you'll click on the look up classes link and then search by term. We want fall 21. Submit. First time you do this, you'll probably get a couple other things you need to read before continuing. So you'll just want to make sure to read through those. And then you'll have this screen here where you choose the subject. We're going to stick with one of the basic courses that many freshmen need, and that is English. You can either hit the E button and it'll take you down there, or you can scroll. So English, hit course search. These are all of the English options. at MTSU. The one we want is English 1010 expository writing, which is your first English Gen Ed. We'll click on view sections. So we're going to go over what all of this looks like so you're familiar once you start your homework. This first column here is whether the class is open or not. As I mentioned, my screen looks a little different since I'm not a current student, so it is restricting me from registering for this class. But if I was you and I was able to register for classes, there might be an open box right here that I can click in, scroll down, and hit submit. That is one quick way to register for classes if for the future, if you're ever changing things around or you're in here at your registration time. If the class is closed, this will be a C. So a lot of these are open at the moment that I'm doing this. So the next column here is the CRN code for the course. This is a specific 5-digit code that's associated with this section only. So if you write this number down and then choose to register using the CRN, it will add you to this specific section. So then you have the name, English 1010, and the section number 001, the re-credit course, and the title. The next section here are the days that this class meets. This one is Tuesday and Thursday. R is Thursday. So you can see there's a couple like that, or there might be a Monday and Wednesday, or a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So just make sure to pay attention to what letters are the class is associated with, so that way you know when the class meets and can balance your schedule. This next column is obviously the times that the class meets. So you can go through here and figure out which times and days work best for you. The next section here, this is the capacity for the course. This is the maximum number of students that can enroll. Column after that is the number of students that have enrolled. So in this specific situation, there are 16 total students that can register and 4 of them have, leaving 12 seats open. So you know that obviously if there's an open box, this class is open, but also if you look at the math here, you can see that there are open seats. The next couple columns reflect the wait list information. If there was a wait list for this course, you would see a number under this little capacity column. Usually it's like 99 or 98 or something. If there's a student on the wait list, it'll have a number right here under this column, like 1 or 2. And that's basically how many people are waiting in line to see if a seat opens in this class. If you're looking for classes and you find a closed one and you really want that one, you can always add yourself to a wait list if one is available. You will need to check your MTSU email pretty much every day to see if a seat opens up for you. If one opens, you'll get an email that it's your time to register for it, and you'll have about 12 hours to go in and add the class. So you can speak with your advisor if you need more clarification on the wait list. This specific class does not have any. Over here, you have the instructor listed as well as the dates of the course. Most of the courses you're going to come across tomorrow probably are full term, which would be August to December. In the future, you might see some accelerated 1 courses, which are August to October, or accelerated 2, which are October to December. This column here is the physical location of the class. So this is Peck Hall, room 307. This is also important to look at when you're scheduling because you want to know where you need to go and how quickly you might need to get there. So if you are scheduling courses back to back, which is a great idea for many students, you just want to have an idea of where you need to go within that 15-minute time frame, which buildings you need to walk between. You can always look at the map on the MTSU website, or you can look at the MTSU app, especially once classes start and you want to get an idea of where you're going. If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see this couple sections say remote. These sections do not meet in person. These are like virtual courses. So if you sign up for this, you will not need to go to a physical location for the class. So just to go over a couple other things about registering for classes, a lot of English sections that we'll just scroll through here. Whoops. So as you go further down, you'll see some of the sections start to change. This is D01, so it's a distance class. This is one of those online classes. One of the big differences is you don't see a day and time because there's no assigned day and time that you need to log in. And you'll see the course says online under location. So not a physical place to go for the class or an assigned time to log in, but you do want to make sure that you understand when everything is due in the assigned assignment deadlines. You can access your online classes and others that have that component on D2L, which is up here in Pipeline. Scrolling down a little bit more, you get to the honors sections. These are signified by the H in the section number, H01, and also it says honors in parentheses before the class name. These are the J sections. We didn't go over those because they aren't courses for undergraduate students. These are for dual enrollment students, so you cannot and don't want to register for one of these sections. So you'll just scroll past those. Okay, now we're here at the K sections. These are our prescribed classes. So if you have a K section listed on your registration checklist, you will need to scroll all the way down here and register for one of these prescribed classes. And if you scroll down a little bit further, the prescribed courses still do have options for online sections as well. So if you prefer that, that is still an option with the prescribed courses. So this gives you a general idea of how to look up your classes. That way you're prepared for registration. I want to give a little bit more information about registering for science courses, because that can be a little bit different. So for science classes, as I mentioned, there's a lecture and lab component, and you have to register for both together. So to find those, you want to go down to BIOL. Well, let's start with an anatomy course. We'll look those up. So anatomy is under biology. So to find those, you want to go to BIOL or search. And then you'll come here to anatomy and physiology, 2010, and the lab is 2011. When you click on view sections, you'll see you have several sections to choose from. So you want to write down the information in the CRN for that. If you are registering for it the different way, where you just kind of click in the box, you would need to click in the box here and then click add to worksheet. You're not ready to submit that yet because you don't have the lab. So once you click add to worksheet, there'll be an option at the bottom that says look up classes. And then you'll look up the lab. Otherwise, you just write those CRNs down. Under the labs, there's several sections for this as well. They all meet once and the time's a little bit longer, so make sure to pay attention to that. So at this point, if you're writing down all of your CRNs, you'll just write down this information as well. If you're registering just by clicking in the boxes, you'll just click in this box and scroll down and hit submit or register. And then it'll register you for both the lecture and the lab. In the case of what we're doing for customs, you'll just write the information down. And then tomorrow, when you go to add or drop classes, you'll type the numbers in for all of your courses, especially the lecture and lab together. So just some final words of advice that we have. Make sure to check your MTSU student email account at least one time per day. So you definitely want to get into that habit. You don't want to miss any important information. If somebody from advising or the one-stop or your instructor is going to email you, it's not going to go to a personal account. It's going to go to your MTSU student account. That's for student privacy laws. So we want to make sure your information is secure. So we're going to send it to your MTSU account. So if you send your advisor a question from an email account that's not MTSU and it has personal information in it, we will either ask you to resend it from your MTSU account, or we'll let you know that we have to respond to your MTSU account, that we cannot send personal information through anything else. Also, you want to check your MTSU account because you never know what kind of helpful information you're getting, whether it's about tutoring or events on campus. It's just a really great idea to check your account so you don't miss anything. Meet with your advisor regularly. Freshmen and other special populations are required to meet with an advisor, especially in those first couple semesters. But you're welcome to schedule an appointment at any point within your time at MTSU. So freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, we're happy to meet with students and just review to make sure you're on the right path and taking the right classes. If you have questions about anything or need assistance finding resources, we'll be happy to help you with that as well. You can schedule an advising appointment, which is the best way to do it, since that way you know you have an allotted time. And you can also have maybe a more in-depth discussion with your advisor. You can also send us an email as well. And if you have any questions, like I said, please ask us. We are here to help and can only help if we know what's going on and what you might need. So registration tomorrow, as I've mentioned a few times throughout this meeting, make sure to log into the Zoom meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock Central Time. If you cannot find that Zoom login information, let us know so that way you can get in there right on time. At this time, you'll be able to register for classes and we will be available for questions. So we will see you tomorrow and welcome to MTSU.